Well, in Sanford today, things were a little quieter, but still a small rally took place there this afternoon. People protested the not guilty verdict. Let's go live to Sanford now, where First Coast News' Mike Lyons is standing by. Mike?
Well, we're at Fort Millen Park here in downtown Sanford, right on the river, and an impromptu rally is just going on right here. People are speaking, expressing their disappointment with the verdict. Now, there was a protest earlier this afternoon, and that was held at the courthouse where the verdict came down last night. It was a peaceful protest. About 20 showed up. There were probably as many media members there as there were protesters. There were no police really in the vicinity, no supporters of George Zimmerman there, but it was mostly young people who believed that the verdict was, to quote one protester, a full betrayal.
Solidarity for Trayvon.
The protest was organized by student activists from around the state. Chrisley Carpio, a student at the University of Florida, said a murderer was set free.
People were heartbroken because the youth of America, the black and brown youth of America, know that the system has failed us. It has failed us again and again.
Dave Schneider of Jacksonville, who followed the trial here in Sanford the last 3 days, held a large banner saying, "End racial oppression, justice for Trayvon." Schneider says he protested months ago to get Zimmerman arrested. He says the verdict is a real travesty.
I mean, really what that verdict sent a message to is that this system will go to any measure to even put a 17-year-old victim on trial rather than convict a known killer like George Zimmerman.
Alex Landau of Denver is attending the NAACP convention in Orlando and came up to join the protest.
That's right.
He says this is a racial issue. The system doesn't work for black youth.
It doesn't work, and it doesn't have the mind to keep blacks or people of color safe in these streets. It's never had our best interest at heart. When a young man can't walk through a neighborhood with a hood over his head without being harassed, in this case shot to death, that's a serious problem.
Now, the Justice for Trayvon Coalition has gathered here, as you can see, at Fort Millen Park. They moved their rally here. They're about to have a press conference to complain about what they say is what the police did today. They said they wouldn't let people park at the courthouse. They closed that area, and they put out misinformation about the rally, that it was canceled. They said their rally there would have been much bigger. They moved over here, and we'll talk to them and have more on what they're saying about that tonight at 11. Live in downtown Sanford, Mike Lyons, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.
Mike, thank you. Back here on the First Coast, a protest was underway in downtown Jacksonville. We were told that a peaceful protest in memory of Trayvon Martin was planned for this evening at 5 at Hemming Plaza. A crowd of dozens gathered at the plaza for this event. And then earlier today, the local Black Panther Party held a presentation for the media. 4 people spoke to the press there, including the party's leader, Mikhail Muhammad. Muhammad said the jury's acquittal of George Zimmerman and the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was an injustice. Muhammad urged African Americans to put pressure on governmental officials in the wake of Zimmerman's acquittal and Martin's death and boycott, as he says, white America. After the verdict was announced, protesters took to the streets all over the country. Protests were planned in cities including Boston, New York City, Chicago, and San Francisco.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want?
After the verdict, some angry protesters in Oakland, California broke windows, burned flags, and started small street fires. A police car was also reported damaged. In Chicago, a group of about 100 people marched in protest against the verdict. Demonstrators chanted, "Not one more." In Washington, D.C., marchers chanted, "Trayvon was murdered," and carried signs and placards. Some others chanted, "No justice, no peace." As the protest made its way through the streets, more people joined. Police were nearby but did not interfere as the protest remained peaceful.